Hello, I'm Stuart Spiers, and for my presentation, I will be covering on how human beings learn virtue and how it ties into my paper that I wrote for the class on what makes a happy life for a human being. Book 2 of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics covers both virtues and vices and how human beings learn both over time. For many of us, the fundamental question of ethics is what should I do or how should I act? Ethics is supposed to provide us with moral principles or universal rules that tell us what to do. Virtues are developed through learning and through practice. As the ancient philosopher Aristotle suggested, a person is able to improve his or her character by practicing self-discipline, while a good character can be corrupted by indulging in bad habits that can hinder a person's well-being, especially over time. This can easily be compared to running a marathon as it develops through training and through practice. So too does our capacity to be fair, to be courageous, or to be compassionate, which are some of the most important virtues that one can have. A person isn't going to try to run 26 miles on their own without any training or practice. To run a marathon, one must train a great deal in order to reach their goal successfully. As an athlete, I know that to succeed, one must prepare and practice in order to get the result that is desired. Just like training for a marathon or practicing baseball in my case, one must practice the virtues in order to live a happy life. From a young age, my parents taught me to always try to do the right thing no matter the circumstance. I feel like most children at an early age learn these principles from their parents, as their parents obviously want their children to be the best people that they can be. Virtues are habits. Once they are acquired, they become a characteristic of a person. For example, a person who has developed the virtue of generosity is often referred to as a generous person because he or she tends to be generous in all circumstances that they're in. In Book 2 of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, he describes that there are two types of virtue, which are intellectual and moral. We learn intellectual virtues through instruction, and we learn moral virtues through habit and through constant practice. Everyone enters the world with being capable of becoming virtuous. We live up to this potential by practicing and behaving in the right way in order to become a virtuous human being. By living a virtuous lifestyle, one experiences pleasure. And in class, we distinguished the importance of of separating pleasure and play, and how it ties into being a happy person. In Book 2, Chapter 3 of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, he states, if virtues are concerned with actions and passions, and pleasure and pain accompany every action and every passion, then on this account of virtue would be considered with pleasures and pains. The opposite of virtues are vices. Vices may cause temporary pleasure and happiness, but in the long run, they cause bad habits, which will be repeated over time. A lifetime of practicing the virtues will allow oneself to become happier over time. We can now define human virtue as the disposition to behave in the right manner at all times, and as a mean between extremes of deficiency and excess, which are also two vices. Though some actions are so bad, such as adultery or murder, there would be no virtuous mean, since these actions are always bad in every circumstance, no matter what. Although living a virtuous life will make attaining happiness a lot easier, Aristotle makes it known that happiness cannot be measured unless it is after death. A happy life as a whole must be measured after a person dies, because everyone experiences ups and downs in their lifetime, so true happiness cannot be measured in such a short period of time in your lifetime. So in conclusion, Aristotle's main point in Book 2 of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics is that virtue is learned through training. The saying, practice makes perfect, definitely holds true to virtues. Although most people are not virtuous all the time, it helps to stop and think about what you are doing before you act. And I wrote my paper on what makes a happy life for a human being, and how Aristotle, Plato, and Machiavelli tied into all of those. And I said that Aristotle obviously separated virtues and vices, and that one should live the contemplative life. And then I also tied that into how Socrates was imprisoned for his own beliefs, and he didn't fall into peer pressure because his friend Crito had a plan for him to escape jail, but he accepted his fate and lived virtuously as he knew it was the right thing to do. And then Machiavelli was concerned with the popular opinion and how it was the most important. And the popular opinion is not always the most virtuous opinion, and how Machiavelli was thirsty for power, and he wanted his country of Italy to be the best possible, and he would do anything for it. He would do anything, no matter what, for Italy to be the most powerful country in the world. And that is my presentation. Thank you.